The observation deck of the Covenant's Promise hummed with the low-frequency vibration that all Caltharian vessels produced, a byproduct of their quantum-entangled propulsion systems. Anna pressed her scaled hand against the transparent aluminum viewport, her three-fingered grip leaving condensation marks that quickly evaporated in the recycled atmosphere. "How much longer?" she whispered, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones characteristic of her species. Lewis stood 3 meters behind her, his weathered human face reflected dimly in the viewport. The scars along his jawline, remnants of the Proxima campaign, seemed more pronounced in the artificial lighting. He checked the chronometer embedded in his forearm, the military-grade implant displaying data across multiple timescales. 17 hours, 43 minutes until we reach the terminus point, he said, his tone carefully neutral. Anna's dorsal crest flattened against her skull, a sign of distress that Lewis had learned to recognize during their 3-month journey. She turned to face him, her large amber eyes catching the light from distant stars. "I cannot endure another cycle of uncertainty, Lewis. The probability matrices keep shifting. Every calculation I run shows the same result, a 97% chance of cascading failure." Her voice trembled, the secondary vocal cords that gave Caltharians their distinctive harmonics faltering. "Just finish it, that's all I ask. If we are to die when the wormhole collapses, let it be quick. Remove the safeties, overload the reactor, make it instantaneous." Lewis remained motionless, his expression unreadable. Slowly, deliberately, he reached for the magnetic seals on his military-issue overcoat, the heavy gray garment that marked him as a veteran of Earth's expeditionary forces. The coat was more than clothing. It was armor, woven with graphene composite fibers and lined with radiation-dampening material. It had protected him through the vacuum exposure at Titan Station, through the particle storm at Wolf 359. He had never removed it in front of her. The seals released with soft clicks, and Lewis shrugged the coat from his shoulders. Beneath it, his clothing was simple, a black compression shirt that revealed the extent of the modifications he'd undergone during his military service. His arms were crosshatched with faint surgical scars where subdermal armor had been implanted. The neural interface ports along his spine glowed with a soft blue light. But it was what he wore on his chest that made Anna's breath catch. A patch embroidered with remarkable precision, depicting Earth's moon rising over a barren planetary surface. Beneath it, words in human script: Engineering Corps, First Response Division. We fix what breaks. "Do you know what I did during the war, Anna?" Lewis asked, hanging the coat carefully on a wall-mounted hook. "You fought," she said uncertainly. "You were infantry, a soldier." Common assumption. The scars, the implants, the fact that I don't talk much, people see a combat veteran. He moved to the central console, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "I was combat adjacent, true, but my primary designation was crisis engineering. When ships were damaged in hostile territory, when stations lost life support, when colonies faced extinction-level equipment failures, they sent people like me." He pulled up a file, projecting it into the air between them. Mission reports scrolled past, each one detailing scenarios that should have been fatal. The siege of New Harmony fusion reactor went critical, 15,000 colonists, 40 minutes until meltdown. The Kepler incident, asteroid mining station lost all maneuvering thrusters while on collision course with a gas giant. The Europa Dome, structural failure at 3,000 meters below the ice shelf, pressure breach in a station housing 8,000 souls. Anna's eyes widened as she scanned the reports. These scenarios, the survival probability in each case was below 5%. The temporal constraints alone should have made them impossible, yes. Lewis brought up a 3-dimensional schematic of the Covenant's Promise, rotating it with a gesture. "Do you understand what you're looking at, Anna? This ship wasn't designed by humans. The Caltharian engineering philosophy is fundamentally different from ours. Your people build for elegance, for efficiency. Every system is optimized, refined to perfection." And humans build for redundancy, Anna said, her voice soft with understanding beginning to dawn. For failure scenarios. We build expecting things to break, because they always do. Lewis expanded the schematic, highlighting the wormhole navigation array, the critical system that was failing. Your calculations are correct. With the current decay rate of the exotic matter containment field, we have a 97% probability of catastrophic failure. The wormhole will collapse while we're in transit. The spatial distortion would tear us apart at the quantum level. He pulled up another screen, this one showing energy signatures and particle distribution patterns. But you're calculating based on Caltharian engineering parameters. You're assuming the containment field has to maintain coherence according to the original design specifications. He looked at her directly. What if we don't maintain it? What if we let it fail in a controlled manner? Anna's crest rose sharply. That's insane. A controlled failure of an exotic matter containment system, the variables alone, are manageable if you understand how things break. Lewis began typing rapidly, pulling up equations that blended human and Caltharian mathematics in ways Anna had never seen. During the Kepler incident, I had 12 minutes to prevent a mining station from becoming a crater on Titan's surface. The maneuvering thrusters were completely destroyed. Standard procedure would have been to evacuate and abandon the station. But you didn't. No, I repurposed the ore processing equipment, superheated the refined metals and used explosive decompression to create thrust vectors. It was crude, inefficient, and violated about 40 safety protocols. It also worked. He brought up a simulation of the wormhole, showing its current state, a tunnel through spacetime held open by a scaffolding of exotic matter, maintained at precisely 2.7 Kelvin above absolute zero. The containment field was degrading, showing breach points like cracks in glass. Your instinct is to maintain containment at all costs, to prevent any deviation from optimal parameters. But look here. He highlighted a section where the containment field was weakest. If we deliberately induce a controlled failure in this sector, we create a pressure differential. The exotic matter will redistribute, flowing toward the areas of highest stability. Anna studied the simulation, her analytical mind racing through the implications. But that would create an asymmetric wormhole topology. The curvature would become non-uniform. Navigation would be extremely difficult but possible. I'd need to take manual control of the ship, use the secondary thrusters to compensate for the gravitational variations. The ride would be rough. We might lose some non-essential systems, but the probability of survival, he ran the calculation, jumps to 72%. 72%, Anna repeated, her voice hollow. She had gone from near certain death to a gamble. That's still a 28% chance of failure. Yes, Lewis met her eyes, but it's a chance, and I've beaten worse odds. Anna was silent for a long moment, her neural processors running through every permutation, every possible outcome. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Why didn't you tell me this before? Why let me suffer through days of believing we were doomed? Lewis picked up his overcoat, running his fingers along the worn fabric. Because I needed you to reach the point where you were ready to accept an unorthodox solution. Your people are brilliant engineers, Anna. Your ships are marvels, but you're not trained to improvise, to embrace controlled chaos. I needed you desperate enough to trust a plan that would seem like madness under normal circumstances. He pulled the coat back on, sealing it closed. And I needed to know you trusted me enough to remove this. It's stupid, I know. A psychological crutch, but every time I wear it, I'm wearing the weight of everyone I couldn't save, everyone who died because I wasn't fast enough, smart enough, creative enough. Anna approached him, her movements slow and deliberate. She reached out, touching the patch on his chest through the heavy fabric. How many, she asked. How many what? How many did you save, in all those impossible scenarios? Lewis was quiet for a moment. 43,716, give or take a few dozen in the chaos. And how many did you lose? His jaw tightened. 238. Anna's hand remained on his chest. You humans, you carry your dead with such weight. 238 failures against 43,000 successes, and you remember only the failures. Every single one, Lewis confirmed. Their names, their faces, the mistakes I made. Then remember this too, Lewis. Anna's voice gained strength, her harmonics resonating with determination. You will not add Anna Vilvarin to that list. Whatever controlled madness you must employ, whatever safety protocols must be violated, whatever chaos must be embraced, do it. I trust you. Lewis nodded, moving to the engineering console. I'll need your help. The exotic matter redistribution requires precise timing on the quantum level. My implants are fast, but they're not designed for Caltharian systems. I'll handle the macro adjustments, but I need you managing the quantum states. I can do that. Anna took her position at the secondary console, her fingers already beginning to fly across the controls. Good, we begin in 10 hours. Get some rest. Once we start, there won't be time for anything except reaction and adaptation. Anna hesitated at the door to her quarters. Lewis, what you did, removing your coat, was that purely psychological, a gesture of trust? A slight smile crossed Lewis's scarred face. Mostly, but also practical. Where we're going, the gravitational shear might spike to 15 GS in some sections. Every gram of excess weight could mean the difference between maintaining consciousness and blacking out. If I'm going to manually pilot this ship through a deteriorating wormhole, I need every advantage. So it was calculated. Everything I do is calculated, Anna, but that doesn't make it any less meaningful. 17 hours and 43 minutes later, the Covenant's promise entered the terminus point. Lewis sat in the pilot's cradle, neural interfaces fully engaged. His consciousness expanded through the ship systems. He could feel the exotic matter containment field like a living thing, pulsing, degrading, dying. Initiating controlled breach in Sector 7 Theta, Anna's voice came through the comm, tight with concentration. Quantum decoherence in 3, 2, 1. The ship shuddered as the containment field collapsed in a precisely calculated cascade. Exotic matter flowed like liquid through spacetime, redistributing according to Lewis's predictions. The wormhole twisted, its geometry becoming something unprecedented in Caltharian physics. And the Covenant's promise plunged forward. Lewis's hands moved across the manual controls, compensating for gravitational variations that changed every microsecond. The ship bucked and rolled, alarms screaming as systems redlined. Through his neural interface, he could sense every rivet, every seal, every structural member straining against forces they were never designed to endure. Exotic matter holding in the new configuration, Anna reported, her voice steady despite the chaos. Coherence at 68% and stable. We're going to make it, Lewis. We're actually going to. The wormhole convulsed. A rogue gravitational wave, unpredicted and unpredictable, slammed into the ship. Lewis felt something tear in the port nacelle, felt the structural integrity drop 15% in an instant. His mind raced through 1,000 scenarios in a heartbeat. They were 90 seconds from the exit point, 90 seconds from safety. But with the port nacelle compromised, they would tumble, lose attitude control, and be shredded against the wormhole's walls. Unless Anna, reroute all power from life support to the port stabilizers. Everything. We'll be breathing vacuum for the last 60 seconds, but we'll be breathing it on the other side. Confirmed. No hesitation, complete trust. The air vanished from the ship. Lewis's lungs burned as his enhanced biology shifted into emergency mode, his augmented cardiovascular system squeezing every molecule of oxygen from his blood. Through blurring vision, he held the ship steady, counting down the seconds. 45, 30, 15. The Covenant's promise burst from the wormhole in a shower of exotic particles, tumbling but intact. Atmosphere flooded back into the cabin. Louis and Anna gasped in unison, dragging air into their lungs. Status, Louis managed. All critical systems functional, hull integrity at 83%. We're alive, Louis, we made it. Louis slumped in the pilot's cradle, every muscle trembling with exhaustion. Through the viewport, he could see their destination, the Caltharian homeworld, exactly where they were supposed to be. Anna appeared beside him, her crest raised high in triumph. She looked at the human veteran, at the man who had refused to let them die, who had turned certain doom into improbable survival through sheer stubborn ingenuity. "I asked you to finish it," she said softly, "and you did, but not the way I meant." Louis smiled, a genuine expression that softened the harsh lines of his scarred face. "That's the thing about humans, Anna. When we're told to finish something, we don't give up. We just find a different definition of finished." "Is that what your coat means, your patch? We fix what breaks." "Among other things." Louis stood, his legs unsteady. "It means we're the ones who show up when everything's gone wrong, when the odds are impossible, when conventional solutions have failed. It means we specialize in the moment when giving up seems rational, and we choose to try anyway." Anna looked out at the stars, at the impossible journey they had survived. "I think," she said slowly, "that humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy isn't your technology or your adaptability. It's your refusal to accept the word impossible." "Maybe," Louis agreed. "Or maybe we're just too stubborn to know when we're beaten. And too brilliant to care about the difference." They stood together in silence as the Covenant's promise limped toward home, damaged but triumphant. A monument to the human philosophy that nothing was truly finished until you stopped trying, and that breaking the rules was just another form of problem-solving. 238 names were etched in Louis's memory. But Anna Thulvarin would not be the 239th. Some things, after all, were worth removing your coat for. End